Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to take on a reel that one of our viewers, Eddie, in West Virginia sent. It's the 712Z. I guess this will be my day or two for the Spinfishers. I recently acquired a 710Z. This one's got a little bit of a knock to it. I'm going to be doing that one. I also have the 722Z. This one seems to be doing fine, but when I get a reel that I'm not familiar with, I like to do what we're going to do with Eddie's reel here. And that is a complete takedown, cleanup, and evaluation of it. If there's any broken parts, we'll go take go get the replacement parts if needed. And right now this one just seems fine. Just looks like it needs a cleanup. And Eddie did send me a whole bunch of Mitchells, which we just completed. We did a 204, we did a couple of the 300s, and did a 300A, and this is the last lot, so let's get started with this one. So with the pen, this is a reverse screw-on handle. I like to take that one off first. I hear a little chirping going on in that knob right away. So why don't we do what we normally do with that, just hit it with a little penetrating oil, put it in our parts tray, where we're going to put all of the parts that we take off the reel, and we'll put it in there just like that penetrating oil do its thing while we're at it. Okay, so next I'm going to take off the spool. We'll do the spool last. There is a series of drags in here, so we're going to want to get in there and make sure that those are clean. But we'll pull that spool off while we're at it, and then we'll go underneath so that we can take that shaft off. So there's only one screw holding the side plate on here. Let's go ahead and take that off. I use a broad screwdriver for that. You want to get as close to that slot as you can. If you try and use a small screwdriver in there, generally it'll work, but over time what will happen is the channels will broaden and then you won't be able to grip it at all. Well, this is what I've been seeing with a lot of Eddie's reels. They're just caked on dirt, grease, grime, junk. So all he's really asking me to do here is just tune it up, and most of the time it includes doing some laundry or clean up, and that's what we're going to do here. So I use that penetrating oil not only to just kind of loosen some stuck parts, but also as a general degreaser. It seems to work pretty good. Now, other folks have given me tips along the way, everything from carburetor cleaner, brake cleaner. I have an ultrasonic machine, but a lot of the times it's just a little light degreaser like that WD-40 and a little bit of elbow grease. So there we go. We got that one clean. All right, now we're going to take this apart, and we're going to make sure all these pieces and parts are cleaned up. So start by taking off the thrust line arm. Whoa, now that one was a little bit hard to turn. Now if you find that it's stuck, don't force it anything beyond what your physical strength can do. If you do, you're liable to just rip this off inside of a gear. So what you want to do, if it's stuck, do what we just did with that handle knob there. Go ahead and take the time to spray it down with some penetrating oil, and then go ahead and take it off. Okay, we got one more down here we're going to pull. Same story here as the outside of the case. If you want to get to the point where that slot in that screwdriver is as close as possible to a match. That way when you do this, you don't risk stripping it. Okay, when we have that loose, then we can go ahead and pull the axle shaft up off of that. That's going to come out. Just going to set that aside for a moment. You can tell we got a lot of tar and congealed grease from this one. So again, we're going to go back and just do what we did with the others. Now I'm leaving this little washer on here, but be aware there's a washer that goes to the back end of that screw, and if it happens to come loose, take it off. Don't lose it. These reels suffer from what a lot of the older reels suffer from, which is lack of replacement parts. So make sure that you keep these in a handy place, and that's one of the reasons why I do that parts tray. Okay, got this one cleaned up reasonably well. I'm just going to grab a cotton swab, get it on the inside track there where the point's attached to the axle. I'm going to go ahead and put that back into the parts tray. Next up is the main gear. and we got a lot of dirt and grease and grime as we would expect on that. So let's go ahead and clean that off as well. Like I mentioned, the reel was turning. I didn't find anything unusual or extraordinary with that. Just seems like it's suffering from lack of maintenance, and that's something that, generally speaking, is relatively easily overcome. Now, one of the things I didn't mention, and I probably should have as we came in here, that dog's fully engaged. When you go to do the work on this, shame on me, but when you go to do the work on this, disconnect or release that. That's not too bad on the way out, but on the way in, you won't set the main gear if you have that dog exposed in the active position. So just cleaning this up now. Not a terrible thing. We have a spiral main gear here, and we have a nut, 12 millimeter. I keep the ratchets on hand. Interestingly enough, that's the same nut as the Mitchell. There's a tool for the Mitchell. It's just kind of a deep socket. Well, it's not. I'm sorry. I was working on Mitchells before, as I mentioned with Eddie. I didn't realize that this is the larger nut. So let's go ahead and pull this off then. And we're sealed underneath here, and that's all well and good. We can pull this. Let's go ahead and do that just for the purposes of getting under there, making sure there's no sand or anything. Feeling a little grit, that's why I'm kind of saying, okay, let's go do this. There's a collar that holds down the spiral gear. You want to take that off. Be careful, you got small screws here. Best place to put them is right in that parch tray. That parch tray is simply the bottom of a milk jug. And this serves two purposes. This has got it's the hold down collar for the spiral gear, but it's also the trip lever for the bail there. So take that off. And we wanted to get underneath here. This is a full cleaning, so we're going to go ahead. We got a bearing there, and we've got the spiral shaft. So I'm going to start by getting some of the junk out of that just by a paper towel. This is typical of the reels made at the time. These are just beautiful machined parts. You just don't find that as much in today's reels, or at least the reels that would match up with these. There we go. We're clean on that. Just going to go ahead and put my fingernails on a chalkboard, as some folks say, with this screwdriver that I use, but that's kind of the way I've done it for a real long time. And sorry guys, that's not going to change. Just a creature of habit here. We're going to clean out the debris and the old greases from this channel here that were hiding behind that. And that's the only way you can get is pull this gear off. Now, that wasn't terribly difficult to do. I'm going to go ahead and hit the top of this because there's a little bit of dry grease and gunk on that bearing top. Then I'm going to flood the bearing. These are sealed, but I'm going to use Penn Precision Reel Oil. I'm just going to flood that so that it works its way underneath. And we're just going to set that off to the side while I finish the house cleaning here. And that involves just getting there's some sandy particulate under here. I don't like it, so let's get rid of it. Okay, now we're in pretty good shape. So we've cleaned the main gear. I'm going to go grab that handy dandy screwdriver of mine, put a little bit of grease. One of these days I may go to paintbrush, the little artist's brush, for something like this. This is, if you want to get it in the channel, you don't have to put it in every tooth. It'll work its way off over time, but I may go to that paintbrush eventually, but right now I think I'm probably being more stubborn than anything. I'm going to put a little bit on the back. You'll notice I have a gloved hand. That becomes a tool here. You can spread it without getting that grease all over your fingers. And then we're simply going to put that right back in the channel where it came from. And at this point, to hold it, we can actually just go right in with that handle. You can put it on now, you can put it on later. It's the old pay me now, pay me later kind of scheme. But I'm just going to put it there so it holds. Go back in now and grab that bearing. Put that on the collar, spin it a couple of times. We did a nice flood on that before, so we're in good condition with that. I'm going to put a little bit of grease I actually dip my finger into it right there, since I have that glove. I'm going to put it on the bottom of the spiral gear just so that when I go to seat it into the channel below there, now I've got the grease inside here, which is what I wanted. Got a nice performer there. We're going to go ahead and grab that collar then with the tie down and the 3 screws. Nice reel. Nice reel. It's got a lot of fans. Penn did bring back some of these spiral geared ones. I don't remember exactly which one, but you can actually go buy a new one of these now, and you'll probably be paying, I don't know, $140 or $50. I haven't seen it recently. I did see it when somebody told me that they brought them back, and I went on the Penn website, and sure enough, they were being shown there. But again, I don't know what the current pricing is on them, or if they're even still available. I know at one point they were brought back, so I'm going to try and start that by hand. That's just try a different screwdriver. You would think this wouldn't be too tough because it's already got the set there, and the holes appear to be aligned, so there we go. I'm not going to tighten these all the way down until I get all 3 of them started. There's a little wiggle in them. These are tapered screw heads. I guess if you were comparing it to what the old screws would be, we would have called them wood screws. But they do have an offset in there. They've been tapered. I don't know why I have such trouble with these, but I do. If you want, go grab a cup of coffee. It'll probably be a minute here. Okay, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, right? Let's go for the 3rd. So I've done a lot of these videos on pen reels. I'm not just a pen reel kind of guy. I like them all, but I do what comes in my shop. And in this case, like I said, I just finished a group of these that were Mitchells. A couple of 302s, 301. I did a 302 for Eddie. I did a 300, 3 or 4 different versions of the 300, including the 300A. And those reels were made, I think, from the 1940s right through 1985 or 6. So you have a lot of different versions and all the same in terms of practice. Okay, we're done with that. I did notice there's a little sand and grit and grime underneath here. Let's get rid of that. Quick squirt of the WD-40 type penetrating oil. That, in this case, that's just Ace Hardware's brand of lubricating and penetrating oil. I'm going to put a little bit of oil onto the throw lever here. A couple of drops, just so that works good. I'm going to just kind of work that in. I'm also going to hit the side of the bales. Well, they're just springs, but every now and then you get some grime and grease and junk that goes in there. So it's always good to spray it down, work it in, bring this back up top again. Make sure you get that keyway on properly. So it sits in there for the reel, and then we can go ahead and put the nut back on. Grab that don't have the nut properly set there. Don't force anything. The last thing you want to do on something like this is to have these things cross strip, because then you're out the gear. Just take your time. Do as much of it by hand as you can, and then come in with that last piece. Tighten that, give it a spin, spinning nicely. Come on back and bring the main gear in now. So we got two things we're going to do now. We're going to line up the main gear so that we can put that arm in. I like to start the arm first. This is a visual. Me in small pieces and parts. But those of you that watch these videos know we don't necessarily get along very well. Part of it is that I'm trying to get this thing now let's go ahead and put the axle in. I just put the axle in to hold this so that I have the right alignment. We got it now. We got it. Just takes time and patience. So one of the first folks that I spoke to about the hobby of reel repair told me, you need a couple of things. You need a little bit of mechanical ability. You need a little bit of luck. And you need a whole lot of patience. And there you go. Just demonstrated it for us right there. Okay. Look at that. That's nice. What a difference that makes. And you can see the inner workings of this as we do that. It's very simple in its nature. We're going to put a little bit of blue grease just on that little section there where we're spinning in that channel, just to make sure that works in. Go ahead and grab the side cover now. Go ahead and put that back on, and then we're going to service the piece up top. There we go, we're good there. Notice that the button fell off. That happens a lot when the older reels are just not held on. It's just a little bit of that. Crazy glue is going to put that right back on. Okay, let's go up top then to the spool. Take a look at these, make sure that the drags inside the spool are okay. I use a little pick to take the C-ring out. And has one of the tougher rings here. A lot of torsion on these. Eventually, just like we were saying before, with a little bit of patience, a little bit of knowledge, you'll be able to get that out. So that's a spring. Make sure that you don't lose it. Then we can generally pull that drag stack up. Make sure that that channel is clean. I'm going to leave that last drag in there. You can play around with it if you thought that you wouldn't have any trouble with these drags. In this case, the drags are in good condition, so there's no need to worry about that. To reinstall the drags, best way to do that, make sure you have that little shim washer on there, that Teflon one. Put your spool back on. Actually, there's a little bit of crud in that spool. We'll see if we can't clear that out. Go ahead and put that spool back on there. I have one sitting in there already, so the next one on is the metal one. And we can grab the second of the fabric washers. That was in nice condition. Then we have an octagonal one, goes in the middle. Sometimes you'll find them as eared washers. Press that down. Make sure you have it all properly seated. last of the fabrics. I want to get this metal one oriented properly. Sort of like playing tag. There you go. I think I got it now. Not quite yet. Alright, now we got it. And then we want to grab the C-ring there, C-clip. Again, it's a spring. Be careful. You can generally load it with hand strength. Just make sure you've got it in the groove. You can generally hear it click when you do that. Okay, we're in. And then we just have the button up top. Tighten that down. There you go, we're tight. I generally like the back to drag off if I'm not using it. There we go. Bring that back in for engage. There we go. So we're in good condition with this one. Again, we'll go ahead and put that little dab of super glue on so that everybody knows it's the 712Z. But that's a nice Penn Spinfisher. It's probably about 40 years old at this point in time. Still ready to go fishing. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please like it and subscribe. Tell your friends about the channel. I'm driving to get 5,000 subscribers. We're almost there. And I appreciate you watching. I ask you to stay tuned for more to come. Again, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching.